Welcome back to the Sleep Lorians, a cozy storytelling channel dedicated to the untold origin lore of legendary fantasy characters from your favorite films and books. For more mysterious, untold lore, bedtime stories, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Tonight, we're going to take you on a different kind of journey, not as an observer watching from the outside, but as the hero of your own story. If you are listening to this right now, you don't know it yet, but you are about to enter Fantasia, the realm of imagination itself, where every thought has power and every dream can become real. This is the story of the never-ending story, but it has always been your story, your journey through grief and wonder, through despair and hope, through the nothing that threatens to consume everything, and the courage that can save it all. As you listen, you are not just hearing about Bastian Balthazar Bucks. You are becoming him, stepping into his shoes, living his adventure. So settle in, close your eyes, take one long, deep breath, and let yourself drift into this tale. You're holding a copper-colored book in your hands. You're about to open it. You're about to discover that some stories don't just entertain us. They change us, heal us, and show us who we truly are. Let's begin. Let the pages turn. Let the journey start. Act 1. The world. Within the world. You're alone in a dusty antique bookshop, and you're holding something extraordinary. The book is heavy in your hands, bound in copper-colored silk that seems to shift in the dim light. The cover shows two snakes, one light, one dark, each eating the other's tail, forming an oval around the letters Auryn. Just looking at it makes your heart beat faster. You shouldn't be here. You should be in school. But you ran from the bullies who chased you, ran from a world that feels too hard and too cruel. And now you've found yourself in this strange shop with this strange book, and the old bookseller, Mr. Coriander, has gone to make tea. And you absolutely know that this book is calling to you. So you steal it, you tuck it under your coat, and you run again. This time, not from bullies, but toward something, though you don't know what yet. You find yourself in the school's attic, surrounded by old gymnastics equipment and dusty silence. You wrap yourself in blankets against the autumn cold, and you begin to read. The book tells you about Fantasia, not Fantastica, as some translations call it, but Fantasia, the realm of human imagination made manifest. This is not just a fantasy world like others you've read about. This is something deeper, something more fundamental. Fantasia is the inner world, the place where all stories live, where all myths breathe, where every dream you've ever had takes form and substance. It's the world inside you, inside everyone. The place where meaning is born. And as you read, you begin to understand something profound. Fantasia exists because people imagine it, because children dream and adults remember dreaming, because humans tell stories and care about those stories and let those stories change them. Every time someone opens a book and lets themselves fall into it, Fantasia grows a little stronger. Every time someone stops to wonder, to hope, to believe in something beyond the concrete and mundane, a new flower blooms in Fantasia's endless gardens. But something is wrong in Fantasia. Terribly, desperately wrong. The nothing is spreading. You read about it with growing dread. The nothing is not darkness. Darkness is something after all. The nothing is the absence of everything, Where it spreads, the land simply ceases to exist. Trees, mountains, rivers, entire kingdoms, all vanishing as if they had never been, leaving behind not ruins or wasteland, but literally nothing at all. An emptiness that swallows everything it touches. And you understand, though the book hasn't said it yet, what the nothing really means. You understand it in your bones because you felt it. The nothing is what happens when people stop caring, when imagination dies, when someone looks at the world and decides that nothing matters, that there's no point in trying, that dreams are foolish and stories are lies and hope is for children who don't know better. The nothing is nihilism made manifest. It's depression given form. It's the spreading conviction that life has no meaning, that effort is pointless, that we might as well give up. You know this feeling. You've been drowning in it since your mother died. The book doesn't say this about you, not yet, but you feel it as you read about the nothing spreading through Fantasia. You recognize it, the emptiness inside you that makes everything feel grey and distant. The voice that whispers that nothing you do matters, that no one really cares about you, that you might as well not exist. That's the nothing. And it's not just destroying Fantasia, it's destroying you. But there's hope in the story you're reading. A young warrior named Atreyu has been chosen to find a cure for the childlike Empress, who is dying from a mysterious illness. And as the Empress fades, so does Fantasia itself. The two are connected, you realize. She is the heart of this world, the source from which all imagination flows. If she dies, Fantasia dies. And if Fantasia dies, what happens to the human world? What happens to the part of people that needs stories, that needs meaning, that needs to believe in something beyond the mundane? You read about Atreyu's journey with mounting fascination. He's young, just 10 years old, though he seems older, seems braver than anyone you know. He rides across the grassy ocean on his horse Artax, searching for answers, facing dangers, never giving up even when hope seems lost. And you wish you could be like him, brave, strong, someone who doesn't run from bullies but faces them, someone who matters, who has a quest, who can make a difference. But you're just Bastian, overweight, scared, bullied, alone. Your mother is gone. Your father barely sees you anymore, lost in his own grief. You have no quest, no magic, no way to fight the nothing that's spreading through your own life. So you read. And reading becomes your escape, your refuge, your way of surviving. The book tells you about Bastian. Wait, that's you. The book is telling your story now, weaving you into its narrative so seamlessly that you almost don't notice. You're not just reading about Fantasia anymore. You're part of it. The story knows you're there, knows you're reading, addresses you directly, and you realize something that makes your hands tremble. This is not a normal book. This is something else. Something that exists between worlds, between reality and imagination. Something that's as much about you as it is about Atreyu or the childlike Empress or Fantasia itself. This book is about grief. Your grief. The hole your mother's death left in your life, the emptiness that nothing can fill, the loneliness that crushes you every day. Bastian, you're a child who has lost the most important person in your world and doesn't know how to live without her. Your father has retreated into work and silence. Your classmates either bully you or ignore you. You have no one except this book, this story, this window into Fantasia. And as you read, something begins to shift. The story is doing something to you, something you don't fully understand yet. It's not just distracting you from your pain. It's processing it, transforming it, giving it shape and meaning. In Fantasia's struggle against the nothing, you see your own struggle. In Atreyu's quest, you see a path forward, even if you don't know where it leads. The book itself is a safe space, a place where grief can be felt and examined from a distance, where fear can be faced through characters who are braver than you, but also somehow part of you, where the impossible task of healing can begin, one page at a time. But there's something else happening too. Something the book is showing you about what stories really do. You are not passively consuming this tale. You are creating it. Your imagination is bringing Fantasia to life in your mind, painting its landscapes, voicing its characters, feeling its emotions. The words on the page are just symbols, ink on paper, until you read them and transform them into something vivid and real inside your consciousness. Stories and readers change each other. You're beginning to understand. The book shapes you, but you also shape the book. Your experiences, your grief, your hopes, all of these color how you understand what you're reading. Two people can read the same story and have completely different journeys because they bring different selves to the page. Reading is not escape, you realize, or not just escape. It's an act of co-creation. You and the author, Michael Ende, though you don't know his name yet, are building this world together. He provides the blueprint, but you provide the imagination that makes it real. And this recursive loop, you reading about Bastian, reading about Fantasia, which is made of the same imagination that you're using to read about it. This is not just a clever trick, it's the point. The book is showing you how reality and imagination interweave, how stories exist in a space between the teller and the listener, how meaning is always collaborative, always a conversation between creator and audience. But the book also contains a warning, though you don't see it clearly yet. A warning about what happens when you use imagination, not to enhance reality, but to escape from it entirely. Later in the story, you're getting glimpses of it now, the narrative shifting between Atreyu's quest and your own reading of it. Bastian will enter Fantasia fully, will become part of the story he's reading, will receive the Auryn, the amulet of the Childlike Empress, with its inscription, "Do what you wish." And with that power, he'll be able to wish anything into reality. Any fantasy, any desire, any version of himself he wants to be. He can remake Fantasia in his image, become the hero he always wanted to be, have everything he ever dreamed of. But there's a cost. Each wish takes a memory. Each time you remake Fantasia to gratify your ego, to make yourself feel powerful or loved or important, you lose a piece of your real self. A memory of your mother, a memory of your father, a memory of your real life, your real identity, your real connections. The book is warning you, warning everyone who reads it, about the danger of unchecked escapism. Fantasy is beautiful, necessary, healing, but when you use it to run away from reality rather than to better understand it, when you hide in imaginary worlds because the real world is too painful, when you reshape stories to make yourself the center of everything, you lose yourself. You hollow out your own identity in the process of building a fantasy version of yourself. Anchor your identity. Without them, you anchor your identity. Without them, you cannot truly wish for anything meaningful. Without them, you have no future, because the future is built on the foundation of the past. Bastian will learn this the hard way. He'll lose himself in Fantasia, forget who he really is, forget his father and his mother and his real name. He'll become drunk on fantasy power, using wishes to make himself strong and beautiful and admired. But each wish will cost him something precious. Each wish will eat away at the real boy underneath until almost nothing remains. And you, reading this in your attic hideaway, wrapped in blankets against the cold autumn air, you're being shown what could happen if you never come back from this book. If you let grief and loneliness drive you so deep into imagination that you forget to live. But there's hope in this warning, because the story is also about growing up, about leaving childhood illusions behind without losing the capacity for wonder, about facing pain instead of hiding from it, about gaining confidence and empathy not through fantasy wish fulfillment, but through real struggle and real growth. Bastian's arc, your arc, as you read this, is a metaphor for adolescence itself. The journey from childhood to adulthood is about recognizing that you cannot live in fantasy forever. That reality makes demands that must be met. That real relationships, real responsibilities, real pain and real joy are more valuable than any imaginary perfection. But it's also about not becoming the adults who have completely forgotten how to imagine, who look at the world with dead eyes and see only bills and obligations and the grinding machinery of existence, who have let the nothing consume their inner lives until they're hollow. Growing up should mean integrating imagination with reality, not abandoning one for the other. It should mean bringing the wonder and meaning and creativity of Fantasia back into the ordinary world, enriching it, making it more than just survival. As you read deeper into the book, you begin to see Atreyu differently. He's not just a character in a story you're reading. He's part of you. The brave part, the part that wants to go on quests and face monsters and save worlds. The part that doesn't give up, even when everything seems hopeless. Many people who read this book see Atreyu as the soul on a mission, the courageous, active principle of the self, while you, Bastian, represent the fearful, earthbound part, the part that's stuck in reality, that feels powerless, that can only watch and read and wish. But when Atreyu passes through the magic mirror gate and sees Bastian in the mirror, sees you, the two begin to merge, the reader and the character, the scared boy and the brave warrior, the real and the imaginary. This is the moment when you begin to understand that Atreyu is not separate from you. He is your inner hero, your shadow, your possibility. And if Atreyu can be part of you, then you can be part of Atreyu. The courage exists inside you already, the strength, the determination, the refusal to give up. These are not fantasy qualities that you lack. They're real qualities that you possess, but have forgotten or buried under grief and fear. At the heart of all this is the childlike Empress. She's dying, and no one knows why or how to save her. She represents something that's hard to put into words, the nameless source of meaning, wonder, and soul, the part of human consciousness that knows there's more to life than just biological survival and social climbing, the part that needs stories, that creates myths, that sees significance in a sunset or a song. She cannot be healed by any power within Fantasia itself. She needs something from outside, from the human world. She needs a human child to give her a new name, to call her back into existence through an act of conscious recognition. This is profound, you realize as you read. The source of meaning in life, in your life, cannot sustain itself. It must be consciously acknowledged, called forth, named and claimed by you personally. No one can do it for you. Your father cannot heal your grief by naming what you need. Your teachers cannot give you meaning by telling you what to believe. You must find it yourself, must reach into your own soul and pull forth the name of what makes life worth living. For Bastian in the story, this name will be his mother's name, the most precious memory he has, the one he's been holding onto throughout all his losses, the one that connects him to love and safety and home. And in giving that name to the childlike Empress, Bastian will not lose his mother. He'll honor her. He'll take what she gave him, love, imagination, the capacity for wonder, and use it to bring life back to a dying world. This is what grief can become, the book is telling you. Not a nothing that spreads and consumes, but a gift, a legacy, a way of keeping those we've lost alive by carrying forward what they taught us and what they meant to us. You're crying now, reading this in the attic. The blankets are pulled tight around you, but you're not cold anymore. You're feeling something else, something that hurts but also heals, something that connects you to the story in a way that goes beyond entertainment or escape. The book knows you're there, knows you're reading, and it's speaking directly to your grief, your loneliness, your need for meaning in a world that has taken your mother and seems intent on crushing whatever remains. But here's the final secret the book is revealing to you, even in these early pages. The never-ending part is not just about Fantasia going on forever. It's about this journey being repeated again and again by every reader who picks up this copper-colored book. Others have gone before you. Mr. Coriander, the bookseller, you saw how he looked at the book, how he knew what it was, how he might have been trying to protect you from it or guide you towards it. He's made this journey. He's been to Fantasia. He's faced his own nothing and found his way back. And others will come after you. When you finish this book, if you finish it, you'll pass it on somehow, consciously or unconsciously. The cycle will continue. The never-ending story will find its next reader, because each generation must take this journey for themselves. Each child must face the nothing in their own time, must find their own courage, must lose themselves in imagination, and then find their way back to reality, enriched rather than diminished. The book cannot be read just once by one person and be done. It's a cycle, a wheel, a snake eating its own tail. Every reader brings their own grief, their own fear, their own need for meaning. Every reader co-creates a story anew, sees different things in it, takes different lessons from it. You are reading the book. The book is reading you. You are changing the story by reading it. The story is changing you by being read. This is the nature of all stories, but this book makes it explicit, makes you conscious of the process. It pulls back the curtain and shows you how the magic works. And in showing you, makes the magic even more powerful. You turn another page. Outside the attic, you You can hear the sounds of school continuing without you, but you don't care. You're somewhere else now. You're in Fantasia, watching Atreyu ride toward his destiny. You're in the bookshop, remembering Mr. Coriander's knowing eyes. You're in your own grief, your own loneliness, seeing it reflected and transformed by the story. And you're beginning to understand that this journey, through imagination, through pain, through the nothing and back again, is not just Bastian's journey. It's yours. It's everyone's. It's the never-ending story that each of us must live. The quest to find meaning in a world that offers none. To create light in a darkness that threatens to consume everything. The book is in your hands. The journey has begun. And there's no going back now. Only forward, deeper into Fantasia, deeper into yourself, toward a truth you don't yet understand, but desperately need to find. The pages whisper as you turn them, and in that whisper, you hear the first faint echo of your own name, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be spoken, waiting to bring the childlike Empress back to life, waiting to save you. Act 2. The power and the price. You keep reading, and the story deepens. The weight of the book in your lap becomes heavier, or perhaps it's just that you're sinking deeper into it, losing track of where Bastian ends and you begin. Atreyu has received the Auryn from the childlike Empress. You read the description carefully, tracing the words with your eyes. 2 snakes, one light and one dark, each swallowing the other's tail, forming an endless circle. The inscription on the back reads, "Do what you wish." It sounds like freedom, like ultimate power, like everything you've ever wanted. But you're beginning to understand that power is never that simple. The Auryn protects Atreyu on his quest. It guides him, opens doors that would otherwise remain closed, grants him safe passage through dangerous lands. The creatures of Fantasia recognize it and bow before it, acknowledging the authority it represents. It's beautiful, mesmerizing, powerful beyond measure. But there's a duality to it that makes you uneasy even as you read. The 2 snakes, light and dark, are not fighting each other. They're not in opposition. They're feeding each other, sustaining each other, bound together in an eternal cycle. You cannot have one without the other. The light snake exists because of the dark snake, and vice versa. This is what creative power really means. You're beginning to understand. It's not purely good or purely evil. It's both at once. The power to create is also the power to destroy. The power to imagine is also the power to become lost in imagination. The power to wish is also the power to forget who you are. Auryn can protect and guide as it does for Atreyu, but it can also consume, as you'll discover later, when you start using it to reshape Fantasia according to your own desires. Each wish will cost you a memory. Each time you use the power selfishly, to make yourself feel better, to escape from pain rather than face it, a piece of your true self will dissolve into the nothing. The warning is clear. Power without humility consumes the wielder. If you forget that you're holding something precious and dangerous, if you start to believe that having power makes you special or superior or beyond consequence, then the power will hollow you out from the inside until nothing remains but the hunger for more power. You've seen this in your own life, though in smaller ways. The bullies at school, they have power over you, and they use it carelessly, cruelly, they've forgotten or never learned that power comes with responsibility, that being stronger or more popular doesn't give you the right to hurt others. But you're also beginning to see something darker, a warning meant specifically for you. What will you do if you ever gain power? If you ever stop being the victim and become someone who can make others do what you want? Will you use it wisely? Or will you become what you hate? The book doesn't answer this yet, but the question hangs there, waiting. You turn the page and encounter Gmor, the werewolf who serves the power behind the nothing. His speech chills you even though you're wrapped in warm blankets, even though it's just words on a page. Gmor explains why he serves the nothing, why he works to spread despair throughout Fantasia and the human world. People who lose their hopes and dreams, he says, become easy to control. They stop asking questions. They stop imagining alternatives. They accept whatever they're told, do whatever they're commanded, because they no longer believe that anything can be different. Despair is not just a feeling. Gmor is teaching you. It's a tool, a weapon used by those who want to keep others weak and manipulable. If you can make people believe that nothing matters, that their actions are meaningless, that hope is foolish, then you can do anything to them. They won't resist. They won't even see the chains. This terrifies you because you recognize it. You've felt it. The nothing inside you that whispers that your life doesn't matter, that no one would care if you disappeared, that there's no point in trying to be better or braver or anything other than what you are. That voice serves someone, something. It wants you powerless. It wants you to give up. Not because it hates you specifically, but because a world full of people who have given up is a world that can be controlled completely. And you realize, sitting in your attic hiding place, that this is why stories matter, why imagination matters, why Fantasia must not be allowed to die. Because imagination is what lets people envision something different, something better. It's what gives them the courage to resist, to hope, to believe that change is possible. Without imagination, there is only the grinding machinery of power and despair. With it, there is the possibility, however slim, of something more. The story pulls you forward. Atreyu must cross the swamps of sadness, and you feel your chest tighten as you read the description. A vast grey swamp where the mud is not just physical, but emotional. The deeper you go into sadness, the heavier you become. The heavier you become, the harder it is to move. The harder it is to move, the deeper you sink, until finally you can't move at all. And then the swamp takes you. This is depression, you understand immediately. Not the sadness of a bad day or a disappointment, but the deep, paralyzing depression that makes it hard to get out of bed, hard to care about anything, hard to believe that moving forward is even possible. You've felt it. Since your mother died, you've felt it constantly. The weight that makes every small action feel impossible. The way that sadness doesn't just hurt, it blocks you, stops you, makes you want to just lie down and let the swamp take you, because at least then the struggling would be over. Atreyu fights through the swamp, refusing to give in even when every step is agony. But Artax, his beloved horse, his companion and friend, cannot. You read about Artax's death with tears streaming down your face. The noble horse, who has carried Atreyu so far, who has faced every danger with courage, simply gives up. The sadness becomes too much. Artax stops fighting, stops moving, and sinks slowly into the mud despite Atreyu's desperate pleas. Artax, you're sinking. Come on, move, fight it. Please, Artax, don't give up. But Artax has already given up, and there's nothing Atreyu can do to save him. He has to watch his friend disappear beneath the grey surface, has to go on alone, carrying the grief of that loss in addition to everything else. This scene breaks something open inside you, because you understand what it's teaching. There are burdens that no one can carry for you, parts of grief, of depression, of inner struggle that are yours alone to face. Your father can't do it for you, no matter how much he might want to, if he even notices, which he doesn't seem to. Your teachers can't do it. Your friends, if you had any, couldn't do it. Some things you have to survive alone. Some swamps you have to cross by yourself. One terrible step at a time, refusing to give in even when giving in would be so much easier. And sometimes, even the people you love most, even the ones who have been with you through everything else, can't make it through. They succumb to their own sadness. They sink. And you have to go on without them, carrying the weight of their loss too. Your mother couldn't fight her illness. She gave up. No, that's not fair. She was taken. But the result is the same. You had to watch her fade, had to see the life leave her eyes, had to go on without her. And your father is sinking now, in his own way, lost in his grief, becoming more distant every day, disappearing into work and silence while you're left alone. Artax's death shows you that this is part of the journey, that loss is real, that it hurts, that it's not fair, but also that you can survive it, that you must survive it, that there's no choice but to keep moving forward, even when you're alone, even when your heart is breaking, even when the swamp is trying to pull you down too. Atreyu goes on. So must you. The story shifts. Bastian, you're reading so intensely now that you've almost forgotten you're in an attic, almost forgotten the real world entirely. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what books do at their best. They take you so deeply into another world that you can look at your own life from the outside, see patterns you couldn't see before, understand things that were too painful to examine directly. The childlike empress needs a name. This theme keeps recurring, growing more urgent. She's dying because she hasn't been named, because no human child has come forward to speak her new name and bring her back to life. And you're starting to understand what this means, what naming really does. Names are not just labels. They're acts of recognition, of creation almost. When you name something, you acknowledge its reality. You bring it into the light. You say, this exists, this matters, this is real. The things we don't name remain shadowy, unreal, half alive. Your grief, for instance. Your father never talks about your mother's death. He never speaks her name. He never says, I miss her, or I'm sad, or this is hard. The silence around her death makes it feel unreal, makes her absence somehow more present and more impossible at the same time. If he could just name it, if he could just say out loud what he's feeling, speak the truth of his grief and yours, acknowledge that this terrible thing has happened and that you're both struggling with it. Maybe then it would become something you could face together instead of something that's drowning you both separately. The childlike empress represents that nameless source inside everyone. The soul, the part that gives life meaning. The capacity for wonder and love and connection. She's dying because she hasn't been acknowledged, hasn't been called forth, hasn't been named. And only by naming her, by speaking that truth aloud, can she and Fantasia and imagination itself be saved. Truth spoken aloud creates reality. Silence leaves things sick and dying. You'll have to name her eventually. You know this already, can feel it in the way the book is pulling you deeper. Bastian will have to give her a name, and that name will cost him something precious. It will be an act of love and sacrifice, of recognizing what's most important and speaking it into the world, even at great personal cost. But before that happens, before you reach that point of healing and rebirth, the book shows you something darker, a warning about what happens when power is not balanced by humility, when fantasy becomes not a tool for understanding, but a trap for the ego. Later, you're getting glimpses of it now. The narrative structure of the book, allowing you to see forward and backward at once. Bastian will enter Fantasia fully, will use Auryn to make wishes, will reshape reality according to his desires. And at first, it will be wonderful. He'll make himself strong, handsome, brave, everything he's not in real life. The bullied victim will become a hero, a warrior, someone people admire and follow. He'll have friends, adventures, glory. But then something will start to go wrong. He'll begin to dominate others, to demand their obedience, to listen to Zaid, a sorceress who flatters his ego and encourages his worst impulses. He'll consider crowning himself Emperor of Fantasia, ruling over everything, making all decisions, controlling everyone. The bullied child will start to become the bully. The victim will become the abuser. This horrifies you as you read it because you recognize the pattern. Hurt people hurt people. The ones who are cruel to you at school. Maybe they learned it from being hurt themselves. Maybe they're just recreating what was done to them, passing the pain forward, finding someone weaker to dominate because it makes them feel less powerless. And you could do the same thing. If you had power, if you weren't afraid, if you could make people do what you wanted, would you use it wisely? Or would you unconsciously recreate the same patterns of control and pain that you've suffered? The book is warning you. Trauma can turn into new harm if it's not acknowledged and healed. The cycle of abuse continues unless someone consciously chooses to break it. Power without the memory of what it felt like to be powerless becomes tyranny. Bastian will have to lose almost everything, all his memories, all his connections to reality, nearly his entire self, before he can learn this lesson, before he can be brought back. And when he is brought back, when he finally escapes the trap of his own ego and fantasy wishes, it will be through the waters of life. The waters of life are described in beautiful, mythic language. They flow from a spring in the deepest part of Fantasia, in a place called the House of Change. When Bastian bathes in them, he's symbolically reborn. The person who emerges is not the godlike fantasy emperor he tried to become, but also not the scared, wounded child who fled into the book. He's something in between, balanced, able to remember and love and accept himself without needing ultimate power to feel worthy, able to hold both imagination and reality, both fantasy and truth, both the child he was and the person he's becoming. This is what healing looks like, the book is telling you. Not a return to innocence. That's impossible once you've known real loss, but a rebirth into a balanced self, a self that has been through the fire, that has lost and lost and found again, that has learned the hard way that power without humility destroys, and that fantasy without reality is a prison. You think about what this might mean for you. You're reading this book to escape. Yes, to hide from bullies and grief and a father who doesn't see you. But maybe, if you let it, the book could do more than that. Maybe it could be your waters of life. Maybe it could help you find a way to be both the person who feels deeply and imagines boldly, and also the person who can live in the real world, who can face pain instead of hiding from it, who can emerge changed but not destroyed. Your eyes trace the Auryn symbol on the cover of the book, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, an endless circle, a loop that feeds itself, and you understand suddenly what this means in the context of your own reading experience. You are Bastian reading about Fantasia, but Fantasia is made of imagination, your imagination. The world you're creating in your mind as you read is the same world you're reading about. The story exists because you're reading it, but you're only able to read it because the story exists. Which came first? The story or the reader? The imagination or the reality? Neither. Both. They create each other in an endless circle. This book carries the same symbol as Auryn because the book itself is an Ouroboros. Bastian enters the story, changes it by reading it, and returns to reality changed himself. And you're doing the same thing. You're entering this story, letting it change you, and eventually you'll close the book and return to your life. But you won't be the same person who opened it. Life feeds story. Story feeds life in an endless circle. And you realize something profound. Imagination is not opposed to reality. It's not an escape from reality or a denial of reality. It's necessary for reality. Without imagination, what is the human world? Just biology and survival and the mechanical working of cause and effect. Just power and control and the grinding machinery of those who have and those who don't. Just the nothing, spreading, consuming, reducing everything to grey despair and meaninglessness. With imagination, reality becomes more than that. It becomes a place where meaning is possible, where alternatives can be envisioned, where courage can be found to resist what is in favor of what could be. Fantasia is not just a fantasy. It's the necessary counterpart to reality, the place where humans process meaning, face their fears in symbolic form, envision better futures, find the courage to change. When Fantasia dies, the human world doesn't become more realistic. It becomes hopeless, controllable, lost. This is what Mark serves. This is what the nothing really is. Not just a force of nature, but an intentional destruction of the human capacity to imagine, to hope, to believe that things can be different. And this is why your reading matters. Why every child's encounter with stories matters. Why imagination must be protected and nurtured and treated not as foolishness, but as essential. You're creating Fantasia right now, in your mind, as you read. Your imagination is bringing it to life, and in doing so, you're also keeping yourself alive, keeping your capacity for meaning and hope alive, refusing to let the nothing consume you completely. The book in your hands feels almost alive now, warm, pulsing gently with each turn of the page, and you know though no one has told you this explicitly, that the author of this book refused to give a definitive interpretation. Michael Ender, whose name you've seen on the cover, declined to explain what the Neverending Story really means. He insisted that each reader must find their own meaning, that the story is different for everyone who reads it. This refusal is itself part of the message. Meaning is not handed down from above, not given by authorities, not something you passively receive. Meaning is co-created between story and reader, between imagination and reality, between the author and you. The book doesn't tell you what to think. It gives you the tools to think, to feel, to discover for yourself what you need to discover. Your journey through Fantasia will not be exactly like Bastian's or like anyone else's. It will be uniquely yours, shaped by your grief and your loneliness and your specific need for healing. And that's exactly as it should be. That's the whole point. You turn another page, and the afternoon light coming through the attic window has shifted. Hours have passed without you noticing. The school day is ending. Soon you'll have to return to reality, to face your father, to explain where you've been. But not yet. Not quite yet. There's more of the story to read, more of Fantasia to explore, more of yourself to discover in the reflection of this strange, recursive, never-ending tale. Auryn glimmers on the page before you. Light and dark snakes forever consuming and creating each other. And you read on, deeper into the story, deeper into yourself, toward a truth that you cannot yet name, but can feel approaching like dawn breaking over a distant horizon. Act 3, The True Will and the Lost Emperors. You're deeper into the book now, so deep that the attic has become dreamlike around you. The blankets, the dusty equipment, the distant sounds of the city below, all of it feels less real than the words on the page, less real than Fantasia. And you're beginning to understand something about Auryn's inscription that you missed at first. Do what you wish sounds simple, even hedonistic, like permission to indulge every whim, satisfy every desire, take whatever you want without consequence. But that's not what it means at all. You're watching Bastian, watching yourself, struggle with this in the story. Each time you make a wish in Fantasia, using Auryn's power to reshape reality according to your desires, you think you're doing what you wish. You wish to be strong, so you become strong. You wish to be brave, so you become brave. You wish to be admired, loved, powerful. But these aren't your true wishes. They're reactions, compensations. You're wishing away your pain rather than wishing towards something real. Your true will, the deep, essential thing that you genuinely want with your whole soul, is buried under layers of hurt and fear and inadequacy. The shallow wishes, the ones that cost you memories, are just surface desires. They're what you think you want because you're running from what you actually need. Do what you wish is an invitation to discover your real will, to dig down past the impulses and reactions and defensive compensations until you find the bedrock of authentic desire. What do you want? Not because you're hurt, but because it's genuinely, deeply right for you. This is far harder than it sounds. You've spent so long running from pain, hiding from grief, trying to be anything other than what you are, that you've lost touch with what you actually want, what you actually need. The book shows you this through Bastian's journey. Every shallow wish, to be admired, to be powerful, to be special, takes a memory, takes a piece of your real self. Because these wishes aren't aligned with your true will, they're distractions from it. And the more you wish, the more you lose yourself, until finally, you can't remember why you came to Fantasia in the first place. Can't remember the real world, your real life, your real name. Auryn's 2 snakes represent this tension perfectly. You see them now, not as light versus dark in a moral sense, but as the creative and destructive potential that exists in every act of imagination. One snake is the imagination that heals, that helps you understand yourself, that enriches reality by giving it meaning and wonder. The other snake is the imagination that consumes, that pulls you away from reality, that becomes a prison of your own ego. They're coiled together because you can't separate them. Every act of creation contains both possibilities. When you imagine, when you use your creative power, you're always choosing between healing and escapism, between self-discovery and self-destruction. The snakes bite each other's tails because each feeds the other. The healing imagination can slip into escapism if you're not careful. The destructive fantasy can sometimes reveal truths that lead to healing. The cycle is endless, the balance precarious. Auryn doesn't judge which snake you're feeding, it just amplifies your wishes. Whatever they are, the responsibility is yours, and you're beginning to see what happens when people make the wrong choice, when they feed the destructive snake until there's nothing left. The book shows you the city of lost emperors, and you shudder even in your warm blanket nest. It's a ruined place, full of humans who came to Fantasia before Bastian, who used Auryn to make themselves important, powerful, godlike, who crowned themselves emperors and demanded worship, and lost themselves entirely in the fantasy of their own magnificence. They never left. They stayed in Fantasia, feeding their egos with wish after wish, until they forgot the real world completely, until they had no memories left, no identity beyond their fantasy selves, no way to return even if they wanted to. Now they wander the ruins, mad and empty, stuck in an inward loop. They have everything they wished for, titles, power, the appearance of importance, but it means nothing because there's no one left inside to experience it. The person who made the wishes is gone, consumed by the wishes themselves. This is the warning the book is giving you, vivid and terrifying. Fantasy used only to make yourself feel important, to be adored, to escape from the ordinary frustrations of being human. This kind of fantasy is a trap. It seems like freedom, but it's really a prison that you build for yourself, wish by wish, until you can't find the door anymore. You think about this as you read, about how easy it would be to lose yourself in stories, in games, in any kind of fantasy that makes you feel better about being you. How tempting it is to hide in Fantasia forever rather than return to a world where your mother is dead and your father barely speaks to you and bullies make your life miserable. But the lost emperors show you what that choice leads to. Not happiness, not fulfillment, just emptiness, wearing a crown. The story shifts, and you're reading about the Magnolia Pavilion, where the childlike empress waits. The description is beautiful, almost overwhelming. White blossoms falling like snow. Silence that's not empty but full of potential. And at the center, on a throne that's more like a flower than a seat of power, sits the empress herself. She's dying, you read again, growing fainter, more transparent, as Fantasia crumbles around her, and Atreyu has come to her, exhausted from his quest, desperate to save her. But she tells him something that shocks you. Atreyu cannot save her. No one in Fantasia can. His quest, his bravery, his suffering, none of it can heal what's wrong. The Empress doesn't need a hero to defeat her enemies or win a battle. She needs something completely different. She needs to be recognized, named, called back into existence by a free human wish. This is profound, you realize. The Empress isn't a ruler in the traditional sense. She doesn't give commands or make laws or control Fantasia through force. She simply is the heart of it, the source, the still point around which everything else revolves. She embodies a kind of leadership, if you can even call it leadership, that has nothing to do with control. Life and meaning in Fantasia don't come from her decrees or her power. They come from relationship, from play, from creativity, from the free interaction of all the beings who inhabit this realm. She doesn't impose order. She invites it. She makes space for it. She is the condition of possibility for all the stories and wonders of Fantasia. But she doesn't dictate what those stories must be. This is why Bastian's arrival matters more than Atreyu's heroic quest. Atreyu can fight and suffer and quest all he wants, but it won't heal the Empress. Only a free human choice, a genuine act of naming and recognition from outside the system, can bring her back to life. You're seeing in this a critique of how you normally think about power and control. The idea that meaning comes from relationship rather than domination. That creativity requires freedom, not rules. That the heart of things cannot be commanded into health. It can only be recognized, honored, called forth with love. Your father tries to control his grief by ignoring it, by imposing order on his life through work and routine, and never speaking about what he's lost. But it's not working. The emptiness inside him is growing, just like the Empress is fading. He needs to recognize it, name it, call it forth, and face it. Not try to rule it out of existence through force of will. And you're learning that you can't wish away your pain. You can only acknowledge it, name it, bring it into the light where it can be held and understood and eventually transformed. The book is showing you a different way to be, a different kind of strength that has nothing to do with control and everything to do with recognition, with relationship, with the courage to name what's true. And there's something else you're noticing in the descriptions of the Empress and Auryn and the Ivory Tower where she dwells. The imagery is maternal, womb-like, nurturing. The Empress is called childlike, not because she's immature, but because she embodies a kind of eternal, innocent source of life and meaning. She represents something feminine, something wounded in both you and in Fantasia, a threatened, idealized source of care and imagination that's dying because it's not being acknowledged, not being named, not being valued. Your mother, you realize, with a sharp intake of breath. The Empress is connected somehow to your mother. Not literally. The Empress is not your mother, but symbolically. She represents the same kind of nurturing, creative, life-giving presence that you lost when your mother died. And just as the Empress is dying because no one is naming her, your mother's memory is dying because no one in your house speaks her name anymore. Your father has locked her away in silence. You're not allowed to mention her, to cry for her, to keep her alive through stories and memories. The feminine principle, the caring, nurturing, imaginative part of life, is being lost. In Fantasia, in your home, in the world that Gmork serves, the nothing is masculine in a certain sense, cold and dominating and destructive. And it's consuming the warm, creative, life-giving force that the Empress represents. You need to bring her back, not just the Empress, but what she symbolizes. You need to name your mother, speak about her, refuse to let her memory be swallowed by silence and grief and the fear of feeling too much. This is part of your quest. You're beginning to understand. Not just to read the book, but to bring something back from it, to let it change you in a way that allows you to change your real life. The book is explicit about this, actually. You're reading it now, the passages where Bastian finally begins his journey back to reality. He's lost almost everything to his shallow wishes, has nearly become one of the lost emperors himself. But with help, with the intervention of others who love him even when he can't love himself, he finds his way to the waters of life. And when he emerges, reborn and balanced, he doesn't stay in Fantasia forever. He returns to the real world, but he doesn't return empty-handed. He brings gifts, stories, wisdom, empathy, the capacity to see his father not as a distant authority figure, but as a fellow human being who's suffering, who's lost, who needs connection as much as Bastian does. This is the point of fantasy. The book is teaching you, not to replace reality, but to reshape how you live in it. Not to escape from your life, but to return to it with new eyes, new understanding, new capacity for healing and connection. Imagination is water for the real world. It's what makes the ordinary extraordinary, what gives meaning to the mundane, what allows you to see possibilities beyond what simply is. Bastian will go back to his father and share his story. He'll bridge the gap between them by turning his fantasy journey into a shared narrative, something they can talk about together. The imagination that pulled him away from his father will, in the end, bring them closer together than they've been since his mother's death. Personal storytelling is the bridge between worlds, you understand now. When you share what you've imagined, when you turn your inner journey into words that others can hear, you're not just entertaining them. You're inviting them into relationship. You're showing them who you are, what you've learned, what matters to you, and they can do the same in return, story for story, world for world. Bridging the loneliness that separates every human consciousness, creating connection through the sharing of imagination. You think about what this might mean for you. When you finish this book, and you will finish it, you know that now. You could share it with your father. Not the physical book necessarily, though maybe that too, but the experience of it, the journey you've taken through Fantasia. You could tell him about Atreyu crossing the swamps of sadness, about Artax giving up and sinking, and how that felt like watching your mother fade away, and how Atreyu had to go on anyway, even though his heart was breaking. You could tell him about the nothing, and how it feels exactly like the emptiness inside you, both since she died. You could tell him about the childlike Empress needing to be named, and how maybe your mother needs to be named too. How silence isn't protecting you from the pain, it's making the pain worse, making it unreal and unspeakable and isolating. This terrifies you. The idea of being that vulnerable with your father, of opening up that wound, of risking the conversation going wrong or him not understanding or shutting you down. But it also feels like the only way forward. The only path that doesn't lead to the city of Lost Empress, to being stuck forever in an inward loop of private fantasy and unspoken grief. The book is clear about this. Actually, it's not subtle. It's telling you directly that fantasy used for private escape is poison, but fantasy used to enrich relationships is healing. That imagination is meant to be shared, to create connection, to bridge the gaps between isolated souls. And you're beginning to see that the whole novel is an argument, not just a story, but a defense. A passionate defense of imagination against the forces that would dismiss it as childish, useless, irrelevant to real life. The nothing is like the voices in the world that say stories don't matter, that growing up means putting away fantasy and facing the real world of work and bills and practical concerns. That imagination is a waste of time, a distraction from what's important. The book is saying no. Absolutely, fiercely no. Imagination is not opposed to reality. It's necessary for it. Without imagination, human beings have no way to envision alternatives, to create meaning, to resist despair and control. Without imagination, we become exactly what Gmork wants, easy to manipulate, hopeless, accepting whatever we're told because we can't imagine anything better. Fantasia must not be allowed to die, not in the world of the book, and not in your own life. You must keep imagining, keep creating, keep finding meaning through stories, even when, especially when, the world tells you it's foolish. But you must also avoid the trap. The city of Lost Empress, the self-centered fantasy that feeds only your ego and cuts you off from real relationships. The balance is delicate. The two snakes of Auryn coil around each other, and you must walk between them, feeding neither too much nor too little, using imagination to enrich reality rather than replace it. Atreyu's quest, you realize, was never about winning a war or defeating an enemy. The book kept warning him away from grand, undefined battles, kept redirecting him towards something subtler and more essential. His true task was to hold the line against soul extinction, to keep seeking understanding, to keep moving forward even when the path was unclear, to find the savior, you, Bastian, the human reader, rather than trying to be the savior himself. This is wisdom you need in your own life. You don't have to save yourself through heroic action or by defeating your enemies, the bullies, the grief, the nothing inside you. You have to keep the line, keep moving, keep seeking the thing that can actually heal you, which might be as simple as speaking the truth, naming what hurts, connecting with someone else through shared story. You turn another page, and the light through the attic window has shifted again. The afternoon is wearing on. You should be getting hungry, but you're not. The book is feeding you something better than food, understanding, recognition. The slow dawning awareness that you are not alone in this, that others have taken this journey before and will take it after, that the path through grief and imagination back to meaningful life is real and possible and worth walking. Your true will is becoming clearer, not the shallow wishes for power or escape, but the deep desire underneath everything, to be whole again, to remember your mother without it destroying you, to connect with your father, to face the bullies not by becoming like them, but by finding a different kind of strength, to bring the water of imagination back to the desert of your real life and make something grow there. Auryn, glimmers on the page. The snakes swallow each other's tails. The circle is endless. And you read on, toward the naming, toward the healing, toward the return home that will make all of this mean something more than just escape, toward the discovery of what you truly wish, deep in the place where your soul meets the childlike Empress and speaks her name, toward the never-ending story that is also always your own. Act 4. The Threshold and the Return. You remember now, with sudden clarity, how this all began. Mr. Coriander in his bookshop, gruff and dismissive when you stumbled in fleeing from the bullies. He told you that books were not like video games or television, that they required something from you, that perhaps you weren't the right kind of person for real books. But he left the copper-colored book on his desk, left you alone with it, as if by accident, went to make tea at exactly the moment when you could take it without being seen. You understand now that it wasn't an accident at all. Mr. Coriander knew exactly what he was doing. He's one of the guardians, the secret keepers, an adult who seems ordinary, even disillusioned, surrounded by dusty old books that nobody reads anymore. But underneath that crusty exterior, he's protecting something precious. He's protecting the doorway into Fantasia for the next generation. He's been where you are now. You're certain of it. He's read this book, or a book like it. He's made the journey through imagination and grief and self-discovery and returned to the ordinary world changed. And now he guards that threshold, making sure that children who need it, children like you, lost and hurting and desperate for something more, can find their way through. He probably terrifies most kids away deliberately, tests them, makes sure only the ones who truly need the journey, who are willing to transgress boundaries to claim it, actually find the book. And you did transgress. You stole it, broke the rules, skipped school, took something that didn't belong to you, fled to a hidden place where you wouldn't be found. This feels significant somehow, not just rebellious, but symbolically necessary. Deep engagement with stories, with art, with imagination, with the truths that can save you, often begins by breaking out of what the world expects. You can't find transformation by staying inside the lines, by being good, by following the path that's been laid out for you. You had to claim this story for yourself, had to steal it, hide with it, make it yours in a way that no one gave you permission to do. The attic where you're reading is part of this transgression. It's not home. Your father doesn't know you're here. It's not school. You're supposed to be in class. It's an in-between place, a threshold space where the normal rules don't quite apply. And that's exactly why transformation can happen here. At home, you're the grieving son who has to be quiet about his pain. At school, you're the victim, the fat kid, the target. But here, wrapped in old blankets in a dusty attic, you're neither of those things. You're just yourself, reading, dreaming, becoming. Liminal spaces are where change happens. The in-between places where your normal roles and pressures are temporarily suspended, where you can try on different selves, where the boundaries between reality and imagination grow thin enough to cross. You're in such a place now, and so is Bastian in the story. And so, in a way, is Fantasia itself, existing in the space between human minds and objective reality, neither fully one nor the other. The book keeps doing something that should be impossible. It keeps mentioning you, your actions, your feelings, things happening in the attic as you read. Bastian's hands trembled as he turned the page. Bastian pulled the blankets tighter around himself, though he wasn't really cold anymore. Bastian wondered if anyone would notice he was gone. The book is reading you even as you read it, exposing parts of yourself you didn't know were there, your fear, your loneliness, your desperate hope that this story might mean something, might change something, might save you somehow. Stories do this, you realize. They seem to know us, to see into us, to draw out an ethical response, a personal reckoning. You can't read passively about Atreyu's grief over Artax without confronting your own grief. Can't read about Bastian's strained relationship with his father without thinking about your own. The book won't let you hide. It insists that you engage, that you recognize yourself in its mirror, that you answer the questions it's asking about who you are and who you might become. This is uncomfortable, wonderful, but uncomfortable, like being seen by someone who knows you better than you know yourself. And as you read further, as Bastian's journey through Fantasia reaches its lowest point and then begins the slow climb back toward redemption, you encounter something that fills you with unexpected hope. Fantasia can rebuild itself from a single grain of sand. Even when the nothing has consumed almost everything, even when it seems like all is lost, one honest wish, one genuine act of imagination rooted in love rather than ego, can begin an entire new world. This speaks to something deep inside you, the feeling that you're broken beyond repair, that your life is ruined, that the nothing inside you has consumed too much to ever be restored. But maybe that's not true. Maybe even one honest moment, one genuine wish, one true naming of what matters could be enough to start rebuilding. Meaning and imagination are fundamentally regenerative. They can't be permanently destroyed. As long as one person can still imagine, can still create, can still find significance in a sunset or a story or a moment of connection, Fantasia can be reborn. You can be reborn. The thought makes your eyes sting with tears you've been holding back for months. Since your mother died, you felt like you're disappearing a little more each day, like the nothing is swallowing you piece by piece, and soon there will be nothing left. But maybe it's not too late. Maybe you're not too far gone. Maybe this book, this journey, this moment of honest engagement with imagination could be your grain of sand, the beginning of rebuilding what's been lost. You think about your father, waiting at home, probably not even noticing you're gone yet, lost in his own grief, his own nothing. The distance between you has grown so vast that you barely speak anymore, barely even look at each other. At the start of this book, you couldn't face him, couldn't bear the weight of his disappointment, his distance, his inability to be what you need. So you ran, stole a book, hid in an attic, escaped into fantasy. But Bastian's journey shows you that the ultimate test of inner change is how you relate to those closest to you. The fantasy adventure matters not for its own sake, but for what it allows you to bring back to reality. The transformation only counts if it changes how you connect with your father, how you speak to him, how you bridge the terrible silence between you. By the end of the book, Bastian will return home, will run to his father with joy and relief, ready to share his story, ready to reconnect, ready to begin healing the relationship that grief has fractured. And you'll have to do the same, eventually. When you finish reading, when you close this copper-colored book and return to the ordinary world, you'll have to face your father. Have to try somehow to tell him what you've learned. Have to risk the vulnerability of honest communication. This terrifies you, but it also feels necessary. Like the final threshold you'll have to cross to complete your own journey. As you read about Atreyu's quest, you keep encountering Falkor, the luck dragon. He appears at impossible moments, saving Atreyu when all seems lost, offering transportation and hope and unexpected grace. Falkor represents something you can't control or earn. Good fortune that simply arrives, unbidden and undeserved. He's a reminder that along with courage and choice and hard inner work, there's also luck, grace, the unexpected help that comes from outside yourself. You can't rely on this, can't sit back and wait for a luck dragon to save you, but you also can't do everything alone. Sometimes, often, healing requires both your own effort and something beyond yourself. A book that falls into your hands at exactly the right moment. A teacher who says the right thing. A friend who appears when you need them most. Or maybe just the fact that this particular book exists, that Michael Ender wrote it, that someone published it, and it made its way to Mr. Coriander's shop and into your hands. There's an element of grace in that, of luck that you couldn't have manufactured. But there are also dangers in Bastian's journey that mirror dangers you'll face. Zayed appears in the story, beautiful and seductive and rational. She offers Bastian the power to organize everything according to his will, to create perfect order, to control Fantasia completely according to his aesthetic vision. She makes it sound like idealism, like making the world better, like using power responsibly to create beauty and harmony. But it's really about emptying things of life, about cold manipulation masquerading as improvement, about the temptation to control everything so thoroughly that nothing unexpected, nothing wild, nothing truly alive can exist anymore. Bastian's alliance with Zayed shows how easily idealism slides into tyranny, how the desire to make things better can become the desire to dominate, how someone who's been hurt and powerless can, when given power, become exactly what hurt them. You see this warning clearly. You feel its relevance. If you ever get power over others, over your own life, over anything, you'll have to remember this. Control is not the same as care. Order is not the same as healing. The desire to make everything conform to your vision, however beautiful that vision might seem, is ultimately a death wish. True life requires mess, spontaneity, the unexpected. It requires letting go of control and accepting that others will make choices you wouldn't make, that things will happen you can't predict, that meaning emerges from relationship rather than domination. Throughout Bastian's journey, through both Atreyu's quest and his own wandering through Fantasia, there are doors and gates and thresholds. The Sphinx Gate that opens only for those who proceed without fear. The Magic Mirror Gate, where you see your true self. The countless boundaries between different regions of Fantasia. Each threshold represents the same thing, a place where you must confront yourself, where what you meet is not an external monster, but your own truth. The Sphinx Gate doesn't test your strength or cleverness. It tests whether you can face yourself without fear, whether you can see what you truly are and keep walking forward anyway. The magic mirror gate shows Atreyu seeing Bastian, shows the character seeing the reader, the fantasy seeing the reality. It's the moment of recognition, the threshold where imagination and truth meet and acknowledge each other. Every threshold in the story is really the same threshold, the crossing from unconsciousness to awareness, from running away to turning and facing, from fantasy used as escape to fantasy used as mirror, showing you what you need to see about yourself even when it's painful. You've crossed many thresholds already in reading this book. Each revelation, each recognition, each moment where the story showed you something true about your grief or your fear or your need. These were thresholds, and you kept walking through them, kept reading, kept allowing the book to expose and challenge and change you. There's one more threshold waiting, the one between this attic and the world outside, between the book and your life, between the journey you've taken in imagination and the life you'll have to live when you close the cover. And as you approach the end of the book, as Bastian's story winds toward its conclusion and his return to reality, you understand something profound about the title. The Never-Ending Story doesn't end because it's not just one person's story, it's everyone's story. After Bastian, someone else will find this book, or a book like it, will make their own journey through imagination and grief and self-discovery, will face their own nothing, find their own name, return to their own life changed. The story that never ends is the ongoing human process of using imagination to confront pain, to find identity, to make meaning in a meaningless world. It's the cycle that repeats with each generation, each reader, each person who needs to be saved by a story and finds themselves instead. You are part of this now, part of the never-ending story. Your life, your reading, your transformation, these are now woven into the fabric of the tale. And when you finish the book and return to reality, you'll carry the story with you. You'll become, in your own small way, one of the guardians, someone who knows the secret, who has made the journey, who can recognize others who need it. Maybe someday you'll be like Mr. Coriander, protecting the doorway for the next lost child who stumbles into your life needing imagination to survive. The afternoon light is fading. You're near the end now. Just a few more pages, just the return, the reunion, the restoration. Your hands are steady on the book. Your breathing is calm. The fear and grief and loneliness that drove you into this attic are still there, still real. But they're not the only things anymore. There's also understanding, hope, the knowledge that transformation is possible, that thresholds can be crossed, that even the deepest darkness can be illuminated by a single grain of imagined light. You think about what you'll say to your father, how you'll share this experience. The words aren't clear yet, but the intention is. You'll bridge the silence. You'll risk the vulnerability. You'll bring the water of imagination back to the desert of your shared grief and see if something can grow there. This is what the book has taught you. This is what Fantasia has given you. Not an escape from reality, but a way to return to reality enriched, capable, ready to do the hard work of healing and connection. The childlike Empress is waiting for her name. Bastian is approaching the moment of recognition and rebirth. And you, reading in your attic sanctuary, are preparing for your own return. The story is never ending. But this particular reading, your reading, is approaching its conclusion. And beyond the final page, beyond the closing of the copper-colored book, lies the true test. Can you take what you've learned and live it? Can you cross the threshold back into ordinary life and make it extraordinary? Can you speak the truths that need speaking, name what needs naming, and begin the slow work of rebuilding Fantasia in your own heart and home? You turn the final pages, tears streaming freely now, no longer ashamed of them. The book sees you crying, knows you're crying, acknowledges it as part of the story, and you understand, finally, what it means to be both reader and character, both observer and participant, both the one who imagines and the one who is imagined. The Ouroboros closes. The snakes swallow each other's tails. The never-ending story continues. And you, Bastian Balthazar Bucks, you who are also yourself, you who have traveled so far through imagination to find your way home, you are ready at last to return, to name what must be named, to speak what must be spoken, to bring the gift of story back to those who need it most. The book ends. Your journey begins.